Welcome, my beloved student. How you doing? Hope you all are doing great and lovely. In this video, we are going to see what if Deku had an omnipotent cat quirk. This is part 2, and for more amazing content, leave a like, share, and subscribe. And I want to thank the author of this story named Evergreen, like Mother, like Son by Arj12. So do check out and leave kudos. Let's get in the video. Izuku is fucking hyped. He finally found a good online chess competitor. BearRatMouse48 and Mighty Might 69 have been playing non-stop for the past hour. BearRatMouse has a lead for now, but Izuku isn't going down without a fight. Hell yeah. He jumps out of his seat when the screen plays a little celebration gif. Mighty Might 69. GG. Mighty Might 69. Wanna play a tiebreaker? BearRatMouse48. Unfortunately, I have to go to a meeting. But this was quite entertaining. I'd like to play with you again someday. Mighty Might 69. Me too. It's so hard to find good competition, so that'd be nice. Now, Midoriya's is not an idiot. He knows who he's playing against. It was really quite simple to figure out. But honestly, at the moment, he's just happy to find someone that he can go all out against. So he'll indulge him for now. BearRatMouse48. I know what you mean. Have a good day, Mighty Might 69. Mighty Might 69. You too. D. Zoo, I think I fucked up the croissants. Toga holds up a smoking baking tray and Izuku winces. And with that, his new chess friend was pushed to the back of his mind. A few miles away, however, Nedzu is smiling pleasantly at the thought of a new competitor. It's been a while since he's tied with someone. He's very intrigued with Mighty Might 69, and that's a rare feeling for him nowadays. Evergreen at Cats and Coffee. Hey, we have Twitter, y'all. This is Toga Himiko BTW. Bossman aka at Mighty Might 69 decided we needed an internet presence XD. We also got Insta, and 10% off for those who use the code IZASUCKSBALLS. That's what you get for letting me choose the code, lol.
Fangirl 101 małpka stanie 100 wstans.
OMG, it's Knife Girl, y'all. LOL at naming things. Holy shit, Evergreen has Twitter, this is gonna be fun. Izuku Midoriya at Mighty Might 69. OMG, okay, so lots of people are DMing me ABT Evergreen. So I might as well do an FAQ. Yes, I run the cafe. No, I'm not 11. Sad face. Yes, I told Himiko she could pick the code. Yes, IZASUCKSBALLS works. And no, I'm not losing it like PPL claim Lamaui. Hope you're happy, Himi, with the chaos you cause. Evergreen at Cats and Coffee. Yes, very Himiko. Hey guys. The camera shows Midoriya waving at the camera. I'm the owner of Evergreen, and this is our first Instagram post. Woot woo. The camera flips around to show Toga posing like it's a selfie. Do I look cute, guys? She grins. Then Izuku says, ugh, don't inflate her ego. It's too big as is. And Himiko laughs. Evergreen has a sale on drinks. Tell your friends. 10% off all of them. Wait, I thought the sale was on pastries. Toga shouts from the background of the video. Wait, is it? I don't fucking know, you're the boss. I guess 10% off all pastries then. Izuku smiles nervously as Toga walks up behind him. We're so bad at this, oh my god. The camera pans around the cafe. You can hear clanging and customers are confused and searching for the source. The camera goes into the back where Izuku is beginning to crawl out of the vent system. The camera shakes as Toga laughs. Here's the ghost of Evergreen, everybody. A teenage cryptid. Izuku walks towards the camera. Well, that's... He's about to protest, but he simply stops and sighs. Justified. Ha! Hawk's left wing at Hero. LMFAO Midoriya's the infamous ghost of Evergreen. I've always wondered where the noise came from. Life sucks balls at FMLTBH. The way he couldn't even deny being cryptic XD. Evergreen has been increasingly busy the past week and Izuku is tired of it. Don't get him wrong, he likes the business, but there's only so many drinks two teens can make at a time. He begrudgingly hangs up a help wanted sign on the window. Evergreen has always been a small place with few workers. The thought of a stranger working in his mom's cafe bothers him greatly, but they need the help. He sighs and steps behind the counter once more. Toga is on break, so he needs to stay focused. The bell jingles, and he looks up to see Ingenium. Hi, Tensei. He beams at the hero in awe despite having known him for years. Ingenium is just so incredible. Hey kid, I saw your Twitter account. He smirks and Izuku knows exactly where this is going. IZASUCKSBALLS still works for 10% off. correct? Tensei raises an eyebrow at the boy in amusement as Izuku groans it does. But at what cost to my dignity? Tensei laughs. I don't know. You seem to be doing pretty well here though. He gestures to the packed cafe. Tell me about it. I need to hire someone new and I'm really not looking forward to it. Midoriya sighs sadly as he points to the other help wanted sign. Well, I wish you luck, kid. He waves to Midoriya before exiting the cafe with his coffee. That night Izuku is perched in a tree looking down at a trigger deal going on below him. Now usually he would step in right about now, but tonight's a special occasion. A daylight hero is here. And not just any daylight hero. He spotted Hawks about half an hour ago staking out the same deal that Izuku was watching. He doesn't exactly know why the pro is out at night, but he suspects the hero commission is to blame. He watches as Hawks comes out from his hiding spot and kicks some villain ass. He brings out his notebook and scribbles his observations as quietly as he can so he doesn't disturb the fight. After Hawks knocked all of the villains out and tied them up, he paused for a beat before looking straight up at Midoriya. Ah! Izuku nearly falls off of his branch with shock. You startled me. Hawks tilts his head and narrows his eyes. I could say the same to you. I guess it really isn't very polite to spy on your idols, is it? He thinks vaguely. Izuku leaps out of the tree and dusts himself off. I mean, that's fair, I guess. Hawks scans the small vigilante before speaking. So you're the famous vigilante Helios, I take it? Izuku chuckles abashedly. I'd say more infamous than famous. But that's me. Hawks smiles. Don't sell your reputation short. I've heard a lot about you. I'm assuming you were waiting for me to leave but didn't want to be caught. Don't worry, I'm not out to arrest you. Izuku can tell the man is trying to be reassuring, which is nice, even though it isn't working. Hawks starts walking down the street and Helios had to speed walk to keep up with him. Oh hey, well I appreciate that, Mr. Hawks, but I wasn't waiting for you to leave. I was watching you. Hawks raises an eyebrow and Izuku backtracks. Oh. Not creepily. Just analyzing, you know? Hawks says nothing, so Izuku hurries to get out his journal and flip to the most recent page. It's just a hobby. I figured there's no better view than bird's eye, so trees are where I go. Izuku smacks himself internally. Oh my god, the number 3 hero totally thinks I'm super lame now. Hawks studies his page and looks back at Helios before giving the notebook back. That's surprising. Excuse me? Izuku is caught a little off guard at this comment. He can't tell if surprising is a good thing or not. I expected the notorious Helios to be more brawn than brains. But it looks like I was mistaken. Izuku flushes at the praise, grateful for the mask's coverage. Oh, thank you, sir. That means a lot. Do you mind if I ask you a question, though? Izuku is interested in what Hawks's answer. Usually his persona is quite carefree, but he's more calculating than most assume. Shoot, why are you out at night? You're a daylight hero, don't you need to sleep or something? That's a tad hypocritical coming from a vigilante that probably has a day job, but I'll bite since you're fairly interesting. Izuku straightens up at this. Sometimes I take night patrols to help out fellow heroes, and he gestures to Izuku, vigilantes like yourself. Chim. So that's how he's going to play it. Izuku pauses for a good 3 seconds. What can I say to put him on edge? He says as judgmentally as he possibly can. Hawks freezes momentarily and Izuku smirks. What was that? The hero asks. Hook, line, and sinker. Izuku has to bite his tongue to keep from giggling. Helios turns to Hawks. I'm hungry. Are you hungry? I don't give him time to think. What do you think about fried chicken? Hawks says nothing, so Izuku continues. I'll take that as a yes. Follow me, there's one around the corner. Izuku skips forwards in front of the man as he wonders how good of a barista the hero would be. Izuku thinks the cashier at the neighborhood KFC is about to have a stroke. Though a pro hero and a popular vigilante, ordering 2 buckets of fried chicken isn't exactly a common experience. As the pair leave the store, Helios leads the hero to his roof. Again, really it's Tiffany's rooftop, but he digresses. Hawks simply flies up, which Izuku thinks is totally awesome. He resists the urge to take out his notebooks and instead opts to reach into his bucket of fried chicken. I'm sorry, but why did you bring me here? Helios sighs. I'll be honest, Kigo. He notes how the man flinches at his own name. I know quite a bit about you. He pulls his mask down to eat a piece of fried chicken from his bucket. Thankfully it's dark out, so he's not too nervous about his identity. Hawk steps towards Izuku, and to be honest, Izuku is a little nervous about the man in front of him. He's the number 3 hero. This could get bad quickly. How do you know that name? It's less of a question and more of a demand. I know a lot of things. I know about your father, your mother, and even your little baby Endeavor plushie. It's cute. Really. He says sarcastically. But what I don't know is why you were out here tonight. Hawks opens his mouth to speak, but Izuku cuts him off and spare me the "it's to help my colleagues" bullshit. We both know you don't take a single step without the commission breathing down your neck. However, he glances around searching for eyes on them. You're alone tonight. Why is that? Hawk stiffens, then straightens his back to loom over Izuku. Fine. I'll admit this isn't a commission-sanctioned mission. But I'll only ask once more. Where did you learn this? Helio smiles and tilts his head. Once something is online, it never gets erased. Not fully anyway. I like to think I'm pretty good at digging through the internet to find the important stuff. He sits down on the concrete roof casually. And I really don't have nefarious intentions. All I want is a little information. Though the pro is still incredibly wary, he chooses to trust him. He sits next to Izuku and takes a bite out of his own chicken. So, what do you know about the Yakuza? Izuku is about to lose his fucking mind. A child. She's kidnapped, and the commission knows this. But it's too dangerous and not worth it for Hawks to go. What a load of bullshit. He sighs heavily and turns to the hero. So you're out here to try and help her, I take it? Yeah. Couldn't get too much information though. He shakes his head sadly. I don't know how to go about this. The wheels in Izuku's head are turning. Goddamn. He knows exactly what he needs to do, and he doesn't like it. He sighs once more and stands up. I wouldn't worry about it, Hawks. I know what to do. What are you planning? It's clear Hawks wants to maintain some semblance of control between the two of them. But Izuku isn't planning on giving anything up. Izuku smirks. Don't worry your traitorous little head about it, Hawks. I've got it covered. He says as he walks away, ignoring the hero bristling at the mention of a traitor. He's surprisingly easy to read for a commission trainee. And just so we're on the same page, we never had this conversation. Ha! He's trying to make demands. Funny, of course. Have a good night, birdie. Izuku smiles slyly at the man. This worked out better than he expected. Now he just needs to hunt down one Kai Chisaki and tear him limb from limb. He grins at the thought. After Hawks is out of sight, Izuku takes his mask off and brings out his phone to make a call. Hi, it's Midoriya, the kid from the slime villain attacks. I'd like to take you up on your offer of you-know-what. Call me back when you get this. Thanks. There's a possibility that getting one for all is a huge mistake, but at the moment all Izuku can think about is the little girl under the thumb of Overhaul. He's dangerous, and with one for all he has a better chance of winning. He hopes he won't regret this. Tashinori is having a great day. It's a beautiful day out, and he finally has a successor. When young Midoriya left him a message at 3 in the morning, he was a little surprised but ultimately pleased at his decision. Then he went to a nearby cafe only to find young Midoriya himself. He didn't know he worked at Evergreen, but it was a pleasant surprise. Look who it is. He beams at the startled boy, hoping to reassure him. I mean Mr. Yagi. What are you doing here? Tashinori gestures to the menu above Midoriya. This is a cafe, is it not? Midoriya nods in understanding. What can I get for you then, sir? Just a latte. He smiles at the boy, happy that he has the chance to talk to him so soon. I got your message, by the way. We should talk soon. Midoriya pauses before nodding sure. I have a break in 10 minutes. Tashinori goes to sit at a booth as he waits for his new successor to finish up. What a great day. When Midoriya slides into the booth across from All Might, he tries to bury his nerves under his friendly smile. Hello, sir, so how does this whole thing work anyway? Do you say alakazam and all of a sudden I'm super buff, or what? All Might laughs good-naturedly. Not exactly. It requires DNA transfer. So you'll need to eat my hair. Pause. What? Eat this? So Izuku is sitting here, in front of the greatest hero of all time. A greasy strand of blonde hair is in his hand. How the fuck is this my life? He glances at the wiry man across from him. He can practically feel one for all vibrating from Tashinori, and the all for one in him is dying to tear out his throat. He shakes that thought from his head. This is a hero, not someone Izuku needs to be wary of. So he swallows the hair with all the grace of a headless chicken. All Might is sitting across from him expectantly. What should he say? Tastes like salt. Nailed it. Izuku doesn't know how to feel about this. The quirk enters his bloodstream and he can feel the cold rushing through his veins. Surprisingly, the quirks don't compete. It's more applicable to say they meld together. The twin quirks jump for joy as they sense the other. But getting used to a new quirk always has Izuku feeling a little nauseous, and this feels like multiple quirks tied together. Did All Might mention other quirks? Izuku doesn't think so. He pushes that thought aside and oh, here comes the vomit. He leans over the side of the booth. Well, that was messy. He looks up to find a preteen recording him from another booth. He throws up a peace sign for the camera and grins half-heartedly at the other customers. This is my life now. Yagi's successor wasn't exactly what he had expected, that's for sure. He's an interesting young man. But to be quite honest, he didn't have the time nor the energy to be extremely picky about certain characteristics. Young Midoriya had the heart of a hero even if he was a bit out there personality-wise. So here he is standing on a beach dump watching his student demonstrate the floss. Even Yagi knows that dance is outdated. And that's saying something. But he claps for him anyway. Bravo, young Midoriya. That was impeccable, I think. The boy bows in thanks and then jumps up. Let's move some trash. He's much more excited for trash work than Yagi anticipated. Yes, before he could finish his sentence, Midoriya had already gotten started. He powered up one for all and green electricity danced on his arms. Awesome. The boy grins at his newly awakened quirk. Toshinori is surprised to say the least about the speed to which he had taken to one for all, but he wasn't going to complain about his successor exceeding expectations. Be careful now, you don't want to hurt yourself. Yagi calls after the boy as he grabs a trash bag to help out. There's only a month until the entrance exam, so he might as well help speed the process along. Something tells him this boy is going to be a big deal someday. Izuku is in his cafe typing on his homemade laptop. He'd started tinkering with it a few years ago, and now it works even better than before. But right now he's on a mission. He'd promised Hawks he'd save Eri, and that's exactly what he's going to do. It's like he told Hawks a few days ago. Nothing on the internet can be erased forever, and he's going to exploit every loophole there is. Eventually he sees something that catches his eye. Got you. In a few seconds he has a location for an underground warehouse belonging to one Kai Chisaki. He scribbles down the address and closes the computer. He looks up to find Aizawa. Holy fuck. How long have you been standing there? He blurts out. Eraserhead's face gives away nothing. 5 minutes. What were you so focused on? Oh, you know. He waves his hand, dismissively plotting murder. What can I get for you? An honest answer and one black coffee. Aizawa's eyes narrow at the boy. Izuku sighs and starts making the coffee. How do you know I'm lying? What if I'm a criminal? Aizawa huffs. I doubt many criminals run cat cafes. He takes his coffee and starts to walk away. Have a good day, kid. You too, sir. The criminal beams at the man as he leaves. Toga has been staring at Izuku for the past 5 minutes. He's probably noticed her a while ago, but she doesn't mind. She needs to focus. He turns to her abruptly. What's up, Hime? His eyebrows are furrowed in confusion. She scans the boy up and down. She studies his clothing style, the few accessories he has, the beat-up bag he uses. I'm gonna take my break. She stands up and leaves the Evergreen. She feels Izuku's eyes on her cautiously, but she doesn't care. She's on a mission. Her mission starts at the mall a few blocks from the cafe. She looks around and sees a collection of hero-themed mugs. She steps closer and frowns at the options. Which would he like the best? Everyone likes All Might, but she doesn't know if that's unique enough for a gift. All of a sudden, she senses a man standing directly behind her. She whirls around and sees a man with long blonde hair. He's somewhat familiar. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to surprise you. I just need to grab a mug. He takes a mug with a picture of a raggedy hero. Eraserhead. She reads the label out loud. Oh, are you a fan of his? The man smiles at her. I'm just trying to buy a birthday present for a friend. Is he cool? She hopes she can trust this guy's advice. Super cool. He flies under the radar, but he's very impressive. His eyes shine with something akin to fondness. She grabs an Eraserhead mug and bows to the man. Thank you for your help. He waves as he walks away. No problemo, little listener. Catch you on the flip. On the flip, she goes up to the register and uses this week's paycheck on the mug. She walks home happily excited to give Izuku his present. What a strange man that was, though. Toga has been acting strange today. She was staring blankly at Izuku for a while before leaving for her break. And when she came back, she was grinning at him. Is he going to die or something? The answer comes the next morning at 5 a.m. in the form of pastel balloons and a red velvet cake. Surprise, bitch. Himiko screams at the top of her lungs, apparently not caring about their neighbor's sleep schedule. Izuku laughs, charming. But what's all this for? Toga tilts her head. Your birthday, stupid. Oh right. Izuku feels kind of silly for forgetting. But to be fair, he hasn't really celebrated in years. Thank you, Himiko. He tries to look cheerful, but it's hard. Toga puts down the cake on the counter. Oh no, did I get the date wrong? No, it's today. I guess I just haven't celebrated since Mom died. But it means a lot. Really? He gives her a half-hearted smile. She sits on a stool next to him. You never talk about her. What was she like, if you don't mind my asking? He gets up to feed the cats as he answers she was wonderful. Kind, cheerful, supportive. He reaches into his apron pocket and pulls out a picture he always keeps on him. Himiko looks at the picture and smiles. You look like her. He returns her smile. I do. Don't I? In a few days it'll be 4 years since she passed. He sighs and continues. It was a hero's fault. Kinda ironic, huh? I'm sorry. Don't be. Nobody but Endeavor is responsible for her death. Toga's eye twitches as she stands. I'm gonna kill that fucker. Izuku puts a hand on her shoulder. I appreciate it, Himi, but I like my friends to stay untoasted. She groans in frustration. Can I at least cut him up a little? She turns to him and pouts. Izuku decides to not dignify that with a response and instead pets one of their cats. Aphrodite. Oh, and I need to take tomorrow off. Do you think you can handle a day by yourself? Toga puts her apron on and nods. No problem, boss man. Oh, I got you a birthday gift too. She grabs something from a cupboard. You didn't have to. He sees it and stops in his tracks. Oh my god, this is limited edition. He beams at the girl and she smiles. Some random dude said he's a cool hero. Figured you'd like it. Like it? I love it. There's so little Eraserhead merch out there. Thank you. He leaps up to hug her and smirks. He's already plotting the pranks he can pull. He has a few days before the plan after all. A few days later, Aizawa has had a bad feeling all day. He woke up surprisingly well rested. That's never a good sign. He drove with his husband to work early. The weather was wonderful. Suspicious. He walked into UA despite not having a class. Nedzu wanted to see him, so he started walking to the principal's office. That's when he saw it. A 10-foot-tall graffiti art version of him. His eye bags exaggerated and his hair messy and his goggles neon yellow. Cat Dad is written below in rainbow. And he sighs loudly. Why on earth was there glitter? He continues to Nedzu's office and slams the door on the way in. Maybe not the most respectful thing he could do, but honestly he had bigger concerns. Was this why you wanted to see me? Nedzu nodded. Indeed. You know who did it? Aizawa crosses his arms. Of course I do. It was done primarily in green with a yellow accent. Helios's colors. My thoughts exactly. Now to be quite honest, your portrait isn't what I'm most concerned with, but rather how they got in. I agree. You've checked the tapes, I assume? They're wiped clean. Helios must have a skilled hacker working for them. And some files disappeared only to be found under the floorboards with a note attached. A note? Nedzu brings out a slip of paper and reads it. Hi, Principal. Your friendly neighborhood vigilante here. I'd suggest keeping these papers under lock. I've heard some talk that the wrong people are a little too interested in these. I mean, no harm. Just keeping watch. Love, a concerned citizen. Nedzu looks up at Eraser and becomes serious. This is a problem, Aizawa. UA is known for being impenetrable. Helios needs to be on our side. If you can't manage that, then they need to be dealt with. Permanently. There's no in-between here. Do you understand me? Don't you think that's a little extreme? They're helping us. The rat takes a sip of tea before responding for now. But vigilantes are in the gray area. And we can't afford to have an enemy who breaks in and leaves no trace. Aizawa says nothing. I asked if you understand me, Shoyuta. Yes, sir. I'll get them on our side, I promise. He leaves the rat's office feeling on edge. He looks back at the graffiti art. What on earth is this problem child thinking? Izuku grins maniacally at the screen in his dark room. It's obscenely early in the morning, but he doesn't mind. He's got a lot to do today, and this is only step one. It wasn't as difficult as he expected to get into Ned's cameras. Utilizing the mics was a bit tricky, he'll admit, but eventually he got it working. He watches the conversation between the two pro heroes. When Aizawa leaves, he gets started. Helios. I'm so sad you want me dead, Principal. Nedzu. I take it you've managed to access the cameras then. Nedzu. What do you want from UA? Helios. Why do you assume I want something? All I've ever been is helpful. Nedzu. People like you don't help without a catch. Helios. Helios. Fair. Helios. There's a kidnapped girl. Her name is Eri. She needs help. Nedzu, you want my help? Helios. Yes. Well, to be specific, I want All Might's help. Nedzu. What makes you think I can help with that? Helios. Don't make me laugh, sir. Helios. He's in your pocket. All of your employees are. Nedzu. What's in it for UA? Helios, me. That's what you want, right? Helios. You're fascinated with me and how I managed to get in and out unscathed. Helios, you want answers. And I'll give them to you. Helios. All Might saves the girl and I'll join your forces. Nedzu, very well. I look forward to working with you, Helios. Helios. Right back at you, sir. Izuku smiles at his desk. This is working out well. With All Might's help, he will be able to save the girl and kill a pest at the same time. By this time tomorrow, Eri will be in the care of a pro hero and Helios will be partnered with UA. Perfect. He closes his laptop and leaves to take out the trash. He has a lot of empty spray cans after all. Izuku slips into the warehouse, grateful for the cover the dark provides. He walks down the hallway, knocking out each guard one by one. It's surprisingly easy. He would have thought the Yakuza would have stronger employees. But it's not like he's going to complain about it. All Might isn't going to arrive for another half hour, so Izuku has that time to deal with Chisaki. He had memorized the layout of the space using security cameras, so he knows exactly where he's going. He sneaks into an office space and finds the horrid man speaking to someone on a phone. Izuku's invisibility quirk is coming in handy as he listens to the conversation. I know, Chisaki says gruffly. The man on the phone says something and Kai stiffens, yes sir. I'll make sure to do that. He hits the end call button and Izuku decides to get started. He takes a few steps towards the man and feels the all-for-one vibrate beneath his skin. He breathes in and feels overhaul enter his bloodstream swiftly. Huh? The man looks around desperately. Who's there? Izuku reveals himself with a smile, the name's Helios. Without wasting any time, Overhaul leaps at him only to find himself without his quirk. Izuku clicks his tongue. Shem, looks like you lost something. Wah! He takes off his gloves and wraps his hands around the man's neck. Isn't karma just the greatest? He asks with a grin. Izuku leaves the warehouse about 15 minutes later feeling satisfied. He crawls up to his hiding spot on a nearby roof as he waits for All Might to show up and do his pro-hero thing. As much as he wanted to rescue Eri right then and there, he knows that All Might rescuing her is a much better idea. He dealt with Kai Chisaki thoroughly. Giving people a taste of their own medicine always puts Izuku in a good mood. Sure enough, All Might shows up with a bang and wasting no time at all rescues the girl. He watches other pro-heroes rush around surprised at all the guards that Izuku had knocked out. As All Might leaves to go to UA with Eri, the rest of the heroes start surveying the scene. Izuku knows that he didn't choose the most subtle approach, but in all honesty, he doesn't care. He walks away pleased with himself. Eri is safe and Kai Chisaki will never bother any again. A week later, Izuku enjoys his training with All Might. He really does. But the man is a shit teacher. Izuku figures while All Might is off on his classified mission, aka checking in on Eri, he might as well work on the beach himself. It was sort of funny to hear All Might make excuses to do what Izuku had requested of him last week. But Izuku just smiled and wished him luck. He's grateful for his years of vigilante experience and his father's quirk. If he didn't have those, his bones would be broken to all hell by now. Ha! Can you imagine? He's pretty satisfied with his progress using one for all. He can use roughly 10% consistently, and he thinks that's more than enough to impress Nezu at the entrance exam. He looks around the beach. It's almost empty, which is pretty surprising considering he just started cleaning it a few weeks ago. He supposes that's the power of one for all. He looks at the setting sun and decides to go back to the cafe. It was nice to have a day off, but honestly he ought to go home and get caught up on sleep. He walks back down the street, pointedly ignoring the person who's so obviously following him. People regularly try to follow him either because of his newfound internet fame or because of his vigilante persona. But this one feels a little different. The intent is neither admirable nor malicious. That fucking rat. He sighs and ducks into an alley. The stalker follows him, of course, only to find a knife held to their neck. Why are you following me? He glares at the stalker only to find Hawks, who was clearly not expecting to be seen, was caught off guard. Hello? Izuku is so shocked he almost drops his knife. WHY is a pro-hero following me. Shouldn't you be fighting crime or something? He pockets his knife as the hero takes a few steps back. Are you sure you don't know why I'm following you? Hawks raises an eyebrow at the boy. I don't follow just any civilian. So he's gonna be a smartass, huh? Izuku sighs. Nezu requested this? Hawks says nothing. So that's a yes. I don't have time to deal with him today. Tell him to send me a DM rather than sicking his dog on me. He's so tired of Nezu sticking himself in Izuku's business. Izuku had to update his security 3 separate times just to keep him out. And now he's sending heroes after him? Give me a break. Izuku thinks whiningly. Izuku pushes past Hawks before he can say anything else. Stupid rat. He leaves the alley and walks up to his cafe. He can hear the chatter from indoors already. He glances in the Evergreen from the outside. The huge windows span the length of the coffee shop and the glow from the cafe lights seeps into the street. He really believes that the Evergreen has saved his life. He can't imagine a world without this place. He enters Evergreen and Toga looks up from her baking. Hitsu. Izuku smiles weakly at her. Hey Himi. I gotta crash, but I'll see you bright and early tomorrow. As much as he wants to help her, he needs to deal with his rat problem. Sure thing, bossman, she chirps. He walks up the stairs to their apartment. He won't lie, it was weird getting used to living with someone else at first, but after about a month it's working surprisingly well. It's easy to sneak out as Helios, and if Toga has noticed his disappearances, she hasn't said anything. He's grateful for the 2-bedroom. It makes it simple to wake up and get to work. He enters his room and opens his laptop. There's a message from Bear Rat Mouse 48 that he opens hesitantly. Bear Rat Mouse 48. I heard you intercepted a bird recently. Mighty Might 69. Yeah, what the fuck, dude? Bear Rat Mouse 48. You know my identity as well. It's intriguing to say the least. Mighty Might 69. Bro, all I want to do is have fun and play chess. He knows there's a low chance of Nezu believing he's just an ordinary kid. But he might as well try. Bear Rat Mouse 48. But you are capable of so much more. As you know, I'm the principal of UA. Fuck. Mighty Might 69. So? Bear Rat Mouse 48. I'd like to teach you. Would you be interested in becoming my pupil? Oh, you have got to be kidding. He thought he'd attracted the principal's attention as Helios, but really the rat just wants to meet his chess friend? Mighty Might 69. Dude, Mighty Might 69. There are better ways to make friends than stalking someone. Bear Rat Mouse 48. Perhaps. But there aren't very many people who are able to keep up with me. Bear Rat Mouse 48. I was curious who, Mighty Might 69, was off the board. Mighty Might 69. I'm enrolling at UA anyway, Mighty Might 69. And I'm going to the hero course, not whatever you are offering. Bear Rat Mouse 48. It's possible to do both if you'd like. Mighty Might 69. Ick man, let me think about it more. Honestly though, Izuku has already made up his mind. Being Nezu's student is an incredible opportunity. Nezu is the smartest creature in the world. He grins when thinking of how much they could accomplish together. But the more time Izuku has to plan, the better. Bearrat Mouse 48, of course. I'll await your decision. Bearrat Mouse 48. Bearrat Mouse 48. Wanna play a match? Mighty Might 69. Fuck ya dude. So that's how Izuku spends his evening. Playing chess with his weird rat friend slash partner in crime slash stalker slash future principal. A few miles away, Nedzu is kicking his feet and twirling his fur. He made a friend. After a few hours of sleep, Izuku wakes up to his vigilante alarm. He groans and gets up. He puts on his suit and opens the window to leave. He strolls through the streets pleased with the relatively quiet night. He stumbled upon a meowing cat, who was remarkably loud. He leaned down and pet the bright, almost neon yellow cat. Must be some kind of quirk. He gets up to leave only for the cat to follow him. You're persistent, aren't ya? He notices the cat doesn't have a collar. I think I'll call you Apollo. Apollo the cat meows, hopefully in approval, at his new name. Izuku walks along with Apollo for a few blocks before he decides to buy some food for his new feline friend. He steps into a convenience store and heads to their pet section. He ignores the whispers between the two lone employees, no doubt stuck with the night shift. Is that Helios? What the actual fuck? He pays for the cat food and sits on the curb to feed his companion. He smiles as the cat eats Helios and Apollo, the sun gods. He forms a fist with his hand to emphasize his point. When he finishes up his patrol, Apollo is still following him around. After debating the costliness of getting a seventh cat, he decides to let him in. Artemis needs another friend anyway. All for One is contemplating his choices. He sifts through the files on his desk and pulls out a stapled collection of papers on a pawn of his. Normally, he wouldn't give this man a second look, but something was off. He flips through the pages when it clicks together. Kurogiri. He calls for his wispy assistant. Yes, master? We have a rat amongst our ranks. He throws the file on his desk. Kurogiri scans the picture of the man. Kaito Kobayashi, also known as Plunge. What would you like to do with him, sir? Torture or a simple execution? He leans back in his chair. As much as I love those options, this one could be useful. Oh? All for One smiles. This could serve him well. He'll send a message for us. Helios has been asking too many questions anyway. The next night, Izuku goes out for another patrol. As he walks down the dark streets, he thinks about his plans. His training with All Might was going well, and he's prepared for the UA entrance exam in a few weeks. Things are falling into place, and hopefully in a few years Helios will be an official licensed hero. Eri is safe and under the care of UA, and Nedzu isn't plotting to ruthlessly murder him anymore. Life is good. Just as he finishes that thought, he smells blood and rushes towards the alley it's coming from. A man is bleeding out on the ground. Izuku's heart drops to his stomach. Hey, stay with me, man. Izuku kneels on the pavement next to the man and holds pressure to the gash in his stomach. The man's eyelids flutter open and he speaks through the blood filling his lungs. Come on, hold on for me, will you? Izuku's brow furrows as his mind races. He tries to push his regenerative quirk into the man, but the space where it would go is already filled by the man's own quirk. Shit. He takes the man's quirk for himself as he forces the healing quirk into him. He feels the usual rush of a new quirk but moves past it to try and help the man. LH Helio. The man takes Izuku's hand as he gasps for air. Izuku's blood runs cold. What? All for Eniya's Sikomi. Izuku saw the exact moment the life left his eyes. His mouth was still parted in a last-ditch attempt to speak to Izuku. So now here Izuku is, sitting in a dark alley holding hands with a bloody corpse and in possession of a dead man's quirk who died to tell him his father he's never met is looking for him. How fun. Izuku doesn't know how long he sits there. The world passes by him like sand through his fingers. Early in the morning, sometime a bit after 4 midnight comes by. Luckily, she spots him before anybody else does. She looks at the scene and pieces it together rather quickly. Oh no, Han, I'm sorry. She takes a cloth from her pocket and begins to wipe the dried blood off of his hands. He looks up at her blankly. I tried to save him, I really did. He thinks she's calling someone now. He doesn't register the conversation. He just sits, in the pool of blood, alone. Now Aizawa's there. He vaguely wonders if midnight was the one that called him. Not that it really matters either way. Izawa picks him up and carries him to the roof. Izawa must be really strong. Why is helping him anyway? He's on a rooftop now. Eraser is speaking gentler than Izuku's ever heard him. And you should know that what happened is not your fault. Izawa's eyes look a little red-rimmed. Izuku opens his mouth a touch to say whose fault is it then? Izawa sighs softly. Whoever attacked that man is the only one to blame for this. You did nothing wrong, kid. All you wanted to do was help. Izuku's eyes fill with tears behind his mask. Goodbye, Shoyuta. I need to go. The last thing he wants to do is cry in front of the man. Wait. Helios, he hears Izawa call for him, but he keeps walking. He has a murder to plot after all. It's been a week since the incident. A week since he's been on a patrol. A week since he's seen Izawa. And today is the entrance exam. All Might has been trying to contact him non-stop. He silenced his phone after the second call and chucked it out of his window on the third day. He isn't stupid, he knows he's being self-destructive. But he can't even fathom the idea of going back to work. How can he? That man, who might have had a family, is dead because of him. Because he goes running around the city with a silly mask pretending to be some kind of hero. He's been online for hours. Toga is concerned. His regulars are asking about where he is. He can't bring himself to care. Tell Helios all for one is coming. A gash in his stomach. A weak telepathy quirk belonging to the man he killed is inside of him. He feels sick. Maybe he didn't give the man a strong enough healing quirk. Maybe if he had used another it would have worked. If he got there faster, maybe he could have saved him. His hands are shaking as he types a message to Nedzu. Mighty Might 69. I'll do it. But I need something from you. It's important. Rat Bear Mouse 48. I'm listening. Mighty Might 69. This might be a conversation to have in person. Rat Bear Mouse 48. Come by whenever. I'll let you in. Mighty Might 69. Perfect. See you in 10. Izuku shuts his laptop and puts it in his bag with his notebooks and a few blood-soaked hair strands. He just hopes Nedzu has something to analyze DNA samples. He walks down the stairs to the cafe. His head hurts at the chatter of a dozen people's thoughts ricocheting in his mind. He has to focus to turn it off like he does with all new quirks. He sees the moment Toga notices him. Her eyes widen and she steps forward to talk to him. I can't talk right now. I'll explain later. Have a good day, he says swiftly. He feels awful for leaving her alone in the cafe for so long, but he just can't right now. The bell jingles on his way out and he looks up the road and sees Yue. A stream of students are entering for their exams and Izuku feels a twinge of regret that he can't join them. But he can't get caught up in that right now, so he moves forward. Nedzu's office is eerily clean. Izuku hates it. He sits in the chair across from the principal silently. Nedzu looks at him critically before asking tea. Izuku glances at the principal's own cup. It looks gross and muddy. No thanks. The principal takes a sip of his tea. I'll admit, I'm quite surprised you contacted me today. I thought you were interested in joining the hero course. You know the entrance exam is today, right? Izuku laughs bitterly. I'm aware. This is far more important than an exam. Even if it is for Yue's famous hero course.
Nedzuhum spraitel?
Tell me everything. Yes, I said everything you know about All for One. Izuku narrows his eyes at the rat as if to say, don't even try to bullshit me, dude. To Nedzu's credit, he maintained his composure. I know quite a bit. But why does a 15-year-old chess prodigy want to know about a man who's been dead for 6 years? Izuku crosses his arms across his chest. Because he's not dead. Nedzu glances up at him. A man died in my arms a few days ago. His last words were, All for One is coming. He died painfully, but I won't let it be in vain. Nedzu puts his teacup on his saucer. I had a hunch that he might not be as dead as All Might claimed. Can I assume you know about One for All as well? You can. I'll be honest, Nedzu. I'm not dying of excitement to be your personal student. But I can recognize when I need help. You're the only creature on this planet who can help me with taking this man down. So I'd be willing to do a lot of things to get this done. You can consider me a student, a pawn. I frankly don't give a fuck. I need your help. So I'll ask again. What do you know about all for one?
Nedzu grins.
It's terrifying, but it's a good sign. It means he's intrigued. Well, Izuku Midoriya, I say we have a deal. Now, let me start at the beginning. You see, this is a tale of two brothers. Aizawa feels unnerved. He hasn't seen Midoriya for more than a week. According to his friend Toga, he's not feeling well. What the hell does that even mean? The entrance exam is happening now, and the kid is nowhere to be seen. His stomach twists with anxiety. He's such a bright kid. He was even able to anticipate the exam, but now he's disappeared. Nedzu's also been acting strange recently. Well, stranger anyway. He's been plotting something and it's odd. He isn't even here to watch the exam, and he made the damn thing. It's usually his favorite part of the year, watching all the kids suffer against his genius machines. And then there's Helios. When he saw the kid sitting in a pool of blood, he nearly had a heart attack. Aizawa knows how hard it is to watch someone die right in front of your eyes. He wouldn't wish that feeling on anyone, least of all a child. Seeing them so quiet felt all kinds of wrong. They're never that closed off. But all he can do is hope. He looks to his husband and sighs, I guess we should release the 0-pointers? Yamada's eyes shine with excitement, hell yeah. Aizawa feels his gaze grow fond. God, he loves this man. Izuku's brain is reeling at all the information. He in turn tells Nedzu the small amount of information he has about his father, and together they spin theories. A cork board is brought out along with red yarn and an excessive amount of pushpins. Izuku throws his notebooks on the table and gives Nedzu the dead man's hair to be tested. For the first time in a while, Izuku feels lighter. He's finally going to get justice for Kaido Kobayashi. That was the man's name apparently. And he has a plan. I suppose I should tell you now. Nedzu says out of nowhere. Tell me what? He asks. Class starts at 8 o'clock sharp next Monday. The rat says simply, oh no. He did not just say that. Oh yes. Nedzu's eyes are cutting as he smiles. You can't be serious. That can't be allowed. I need to take the exam. He tries to ignore the hope blooming in his chest. There has to be a catch. As far as I'm concerned, you just did. You'll join the 1A hero course with Aizawa Shoyuta as your teacher. You're familiar with him, correct? A fucking course I am. But what's the catch? Just that you keep your end of the deal. Student, pawn, whatever I need you'll be.
Jeff sees.
See you Monday, I guess? Nedzu grins. Excellent. Have a lovely day, Midoriya. He walks back to Evergreen feeling like a ton of bricks have been lifted off his back. He opens the door and nods to his customers and waves to Toga. He walks behind the counter and puts his apron on. He turns to her and sees the obvious question on her face. I'm sorry I left you alone for so long. He says quietly to her. Her eyes shine with unshed tears as she hugs him tightly. You scared me, you dumb bitch. Right. This is what it's all for. Let's talk after closing, okay? He smiles at her. She wipes her tears from her face as she says deal. He turns to the rest of the shop. Some cats are hanging out in the corner. A few are on customers' laps, and walking through the door is Aizawa? Why is he here? He smiles at the man. Hey, Eraser. It's been a while. Yeah, kid, I heard you were sick. Feeling better? Aizawa asks. Izuku thinks for a moment before responding. Yeah, I'm feeling much better. Aizawa crosses his arms as he smiles. Good. Because as cool as the new girl is, I've been craving a cinnamon bagel for a week. Izuku grins and salutes sarcastically. Sir. Yes, sir. Seeing Eraser make something in Izuku feel safe in a similar way he felt safe around his mom. Family. He thinks to himself. Aizawa sits at the counter to eat his food and chat with the kid. As relieved as he is to see Izuku again, he's still concerned about where he disappeared to. He's known the kid for years, and when he takes time off, which is rare, it's only for a day or two at most. So, he wonders if this is the right way to approach the subject. I didn't see you at the UA exam today. He looks up at the green-haired teen, who looks awfully smug considering the topic. About that, I actually was there. Really? But I didn't see you? My exam was a little different. He can see it in Midoriya's eyes. This kid is really getting a kick out of confusing Shoyuta. He raises an eyebrow. Spill it, kid, what did you do? Midoriya smiles. Nedzu already accepted me into the hero course. Your class, as a matter of fact. He gets it now. Aizawa smiles in his scarf as he rolls his eyes. Of course you met with the rat. I knew he was plotting something. Izuku puts his elbows on the counter as he rambles on about how he got accepted so early this morning, right? I contacted him and asked him to meet up. I was so sure I was giving up UA for this. And after we talk for a few hours, he says, "Oh, by the way, class starts at 8. And I was all the fuck." Then he said, Aizawa listens to the boy's retelling of the story and takes a mental note to interrogate Nedzu about this whole deal. But for now, his kid is feeling better. And that's all he really wanted. About an hour later, as Aizawa packs up to leave the cafe, Izuku smiles at him once more. "See you on Monday, Mr. Aizawa, sir. I guess I will, problem child." He nods to the kid as he leaves. Something tells him this will be an interesting year. Himiko is conflicted. She just spent the last week begging for her friend to just talk to her. He'd locked himself in his room and she'd gone out of her mind with worry. The Evergreen is not easy to run. And he'd left her by herself without so much as an explanation. The last week was tense and worrisome. But this morning he came down looking like he hasn't showered in a week, which was probably true actually, with dark circles that rival Mr. Hobo's. He'd looked mean and hurt. "I'll explain later," he'd said. But then he came back looking like an entirely different person, laughing and smiling in the way that only Izuku could. And she was furious with him. But how could she tell him? She knows Izuku Midoriya, and he doesn't do things without thinking them through. So she'll listen to whatever explanation he has. But it had better be good. As soon as the two of them enter their apartment, she turns to Izuku and points to the couch. "You're gonna tell me everything, dude." He purses his lips and nods. "That's fair. You deserve an explanation, and that's what I'm going to give to you." She sits next to him and sighs. "You'd better." "So?" He wrings his hands anxiously. "Have you heard of Helios?" She nods and he grabs his bag and brings out a lump of fabric. "Wait, my mom was the original. I've been continuing her work for the past few years." And the other day, he breathes in to steady himself before he continues. "A man died in my arms." "Oh, Zu." She puts an arm around his shoulder as he tears up. "It was my fault." He speaks thickly through his tears. "I could have saved him if I had just thought things through, but I was an idiot and someone died." "No, I know you do everything you can, and if that's still not enough, it doesn't make it your fault." God, she hopes he believes her. Izuku stands over the sink. He knew he needed to take a shower. He was absolutely filthy and he smelled like it too. But he knows what's waiting for him underneath his thick sweater. He's felt the dried blood all week, but he couldn't bring himself to wash it off. He opts to close his eyes as he showers. But after a few minutes, his eyes open to see the pink water flowing down the drain. Oh God. He bolts out of the shower and opens the toilet seat before puking his guts out. Damn it. Tears blur his vision, but he steps back into the shower anyway. Maybe that blood was just his own? He hopes it was anyway. He closes his eyes once more as he grabs a bar of soap. He doesn't open his eyes again until he's facing the bathroom mirror. He cracks his eyes open and scans his body, searching for any sign of the dead man. He sees nothing and sighs. Relief mixes with guilt as he puts a fresh set of clothes on. The last piece of the man who died in his arms was just washed down the drain and he feels nauseous. Yagi paces back and forth outside of the rundown building belonging to his old teacher. He knows that he should discuss this with someone, but surely there's a better alternative. Before he can decide whether or not to just leave and head home, the door opens. Gran Torino frowns at him and suddenly All Might is 16 again. Stop pacing, Yagi. Come in and sit down. Yagi scratches the back of his head nervously. Yes, sir. He sits on Gran's decade-old sofa and explains the situation as best as he can, which, as it turns out, is not very well. So, you ran across this boy right as your time limit was approaching? Well, and he's a very weird kid who picked up the new quirk abnormally fast. Toshinori frowns at his old mentor's word choice. I don't think that's, and he accepted at 3 in the morning on a random Tuesday after a week of radio silence? Gran raised an eyebrow at him, then he bolted after he got the quirk. The old man scoffs. Of course he did. I mean, technically all of that is true, but open your eyes, Toshi. This boy is playing you. Gran looks at Yagi angrily. You lost one for all to a scam artist. I am not naive, Gran, he says, getting upset now. All for One has used dirtier tactics before. See, this is why Yagi didn't want to come here. The man still thinks that the king of the underground is out there waiting for the perfect time to strike. It's saddening, really. Yagi frowns. All for One is dead, Gran. I know you don't believe me, but it's true.
Gran Torino sais fine.
Let's say he is dead. Yagi rolls his eyes at Gran's dismissive tone. It wouldn't be a reach to suggest one of his henchmen want revenge. Gran inhales slowly, trying to keep himself calm. I'm just trying to keep you safe. What do you even know about this boy? Yagi doesn't say anything to this. He'll admit the boy is pretty mysterious. He's been sick for a week, according to his coworker. But after all the times he's tried to contact young Midoriya, he's getting a little suspicious of all the workers at the Evergreen. Tashinori nods. All right. You may have a point, but I'm not doing anything until I talk to him myself. He stands up to leave and Gran follows him out. As he's closing the door, he calls out to him, I'm rooting for you, Yagi. Who knows? Maybe he's just an innocent kid. Yagi smiles at his old mentor god. I hope that's the case. Izuku frowns at his handiwork. Something seems off. A big portrait of Endeavor Spray painted with the caption Endeavor graces the side of Evergreen Cafe. Maybe it needs another dick? No, he's already drawn 5 of those. He brings out his gray and paints a giant trash can around the man. Chem. Perfect. After adding some green stink lines, he takes a step back and smiles. What are you up to now, problem child? A voice comes from behind him. If it isn't my future teacher. I'm just painting a beautiful mural. He gestures to his artwork. I just finished all of my high school courses, so I'm celebrating. Aizawa's eyes narrow. What do you mean you finished your high school courses? Izuku packs up his cans of spray paint as he explains. Well, I just fulfilled all the high school credits required to graduate. I did school online. I have nothing to do now. Hearing this, Toga yells from inside the cafe, nothing to do. Except for running your goddamn cafe. Izuku smiles nervously, except for running my goddamn cafe. The two of them walk inside. Aizawa sits at the counter as Izuku works the cash register. So what are you even going to do at UA? The only course you'd need would be hero studies. Izuku points at the man exactly right. He bounces excitedly on the balls of his feet. I was messaging Nedzu about this today, in fact. I'm going to be Nedzu's personal student. Aizawa spits out the coffee he was drinking. Your what? Izuku tilts his head at this. I thought you already knew this? I told you I spoke to Nedzu, right? Oh my god. Aizawa presses his hands to his temples. I cannot handle 2 Nedzus. My sanity is fleeting as it is. Izuku chuckles. You're so dramatic. Nedzu is actually pretty fun to hang out with. Aizawa huffs out an exasperated laugh. You're joking, right? Nedzu? Fun? He shakes his head. Izuku smiles. Don't worry too much, sir. It'll take more than a rat with a few screws loose to mess with my morals. Aizawa packs up to leave. That's what they all say. Aizawa waits on the roof of Tiffany's Adult Toys for the 10th night in a row. His mood was low and his hope was almost non-existent. But he sat there again. Just in case. Helios needs to be on our side. If you can't manage that, then they need to be dealt with. Permanently. The principal orders ricochet in his head. But how can you convince someone who's just up and disappeared? But then he sees a figure in the distance. At first he thinks he's imagining it. Honestly, he's so sleep-deprived that he wouldn't be surprised. But when it gets closer, he can make out a gold shimmer. He lets out a breath he didn't even know he was holding. This fucking kid, man. Helios skips happily towards him like they didn't just go AWOL with zero explanation. What? And I cannot stress this enough, the fuck? He asks, towing the line between ecstatic and furious. Alright, I kinda disappeared on you, didn't I? Helios says casually, I had some things to sort out. Aizawa sighs. He supposes the last time they interacted they were covered in blood and in the midst of a mental break. How are you? Huh? What do you mean? I mean, how do you feel? You saw something extremely traumatizing. Helios wrings their hands uncomfortably. Dealing, I guess. Aizawa nods, understandable. You should know you've got a rat on your tail. That night I was actually planning on telling you, but then, The thought of the dead man goes unspoken between the two of them. Oh, about Nedzu, I dealt with that already. Helio waves their hand nonchalantly. Me and him struck a deal. Everything's peaches between us now. Eraser raises an eyebrow. Really? How'd that work out? Oh, just sold my soul. Easy stuff, really. He scoffs. He'll use you until you're nothing but a bag of bones. You know that, right? Helios looks thoughtful. I'm not sure about that. With that they leave, making Aizawa wonder what exactly the two of them talked about. After his check-in with Eraser, Izuku makes his way to UA. His collection of a variety of different quirks aided him in his entrance of the school. He knows he could walk through the halls with ease if he wanted to, but that just seems boring. So he's climbing through the vents, trying to gauge the school's layout before his first day of class in a few days. They're much dustier than the ones at Evergreen, but much cleaner than the ones at Aldera. There's a spectrum, he's found, that comes with vent cleanliness. Some are shiny but are made of weak material. Some are dusty but durable. These have paw prints? Of course. He makes his way above the principal's office and clambers out, not surprising the animal sitting at his desk one bit. Helios, the rat smiles. Nice of you to stop by. Izuku dusts himself off. Just had a chat with an employee of yours. They have a terrible impression of you. Nedzu chuckles. I'm aware. So what can I do for you, Midoriya? Izuku takes off his Helios mask with a smile. Guess you are pretty sharp. Huh, principal? Nedzu takes a sip of tea in lieu of a response. I'm just making sure Eri's doing okay. Nedzu tilts his head. Try again. Izuku sits on the principal's desk casually. I'm nervous about school tomorrow. Nedzu's beady eyes stare into Izuku's viridian ones. Good God. That's really why you're here, isn't it? Izuku rolls his eyes. In my defense, I haven't been to a real school for years. That's right, you just finished your high school courses online. Correct? Izuku nods and Nedzu stands from his desk and reaches into a storage bin and brings out an old-fashioned chessboard. Izuku looks at the principal skeptically as Nedzu sets up the board. Care to play? Izuku shrugs and sits opposite Nedzu. Nedzu brings a pawn forward. Who was the original Helios? Izuku looks up questioningly. I get a question, then you get a question. I'll answer honestly. He explains. So, he points to the board. Who was the original Helios? Izuku moves a pawn of his own. My mother. How long have you known I was Helios? I started suspecting it when you agreed to be my pupil. The few people I've considered teaching all had the sanity to decline. When you asked about All for One is what sealed the deal. Izuku laughs dryly. I suppose I shouldn't have even known of his existence? No, you shouldn't have. He says coolly. Helios and Izuku Midoriya were both endlessly fascinating to me. Honestly, I'm quite embarrassed I didn't discover it sooner. Izuku sends a wiry smile his way. Am I no longer endlessly fascinating, sir? Of course you still are. For one reason in particular. He moves his knight gracefully. And that brings me to my question. Remember to answer honestly. Izuku's interest is piqued. When we find All for One, and I'm certain we will, what do you want from him? Nedzu is watching him carefully. It would be idiotic to try and lie. I don't. Izuku's words fail and he shrugs pathetically. I have no idea. I've met many people who want to find the man known as All for One. Some want answers, most want revenge, but you... I can safely say that I have no clue as to what you want. Know what you need from him. What? Izuku sighs. Maybe closure. He shakes his head. I don't know. Is that silly? He knows he's saying too much, but honestly, if the smartest creature in the world doesn't understand, who will? The principal looks thoughtful. No, I don't believe it is.
Izuku mets Nedzus Eyeno?
He moves one of his pawns. All for One is said to be a monster. Do you believe that? Nedzu frowns. People have called me a monster before. Do you believe that? Nedzu raises an eyebrow at the boy. Nobody is ever just one thing. As bad a person he is, he will never be a monster. Izuku ponders that for a moment before standing up. Sorry, but I'm afraid I'll have to cut this game short. Understandable. You have school in the morning after all. I guess I do, don't I? He puts his Helios mask back on as he re-enters the UA vent system. Thanks for the game, sir. He smiles at his principal. Anytime, Helios. A few miles away, A 200-year-old monster feels a chill going down his spine. Most people would brush this off. But unfortunately for Izuku Midoriya, all for one trusts his instincts. Something is wrong and he is going to fix it. But that is neither here nor there. Izuku looks up at the huge UA sign outside the school. A bunch of kids trickle through the gate, but Izuku stays planted exactly where he is. I'm going to vomit. Toga pats his shoulder. You won't vomit. Izuku glances at her nervously. At most you'll dry heave. He scowls at his friend. Not helpful. Look, getting into UA is all you've ever wanted, right? Izuku nods at her. So stop being a baby and get in there already. She pushes him forward and he stumbles on his feet. Hey, I like to take my time. She grins at him. So take your time in your classroom, where you're actually supposed to be right now. He rolls his eyes at her, but surprisingly he doesn't feel nervous anymore. He feels excited. He waves goodbye to his friend and takes a step forward in his obnoxious red shoes. He's going to UA. Take that, Kaken. Alright, Kaken. Somehow in all the excitement he'd forgotten about the blonde boy's conviction. I'm going to UA, not you extras. That was what his childhood friend had preached for years. So why is he still surprised to hear his booming voice and the crackling of his quirk? He's sitting outside of 1A trying to prepare himself. Kaken hasn't seen him for 5 years. Surely he doesn't still hold a grudge? He stands up and walks through the door. He regrets taking so long outside because now the entirety of 1A is looking at him. He spots Tensei's younger brother arguing with Kaken, and he feels the moment Kaken spots him. His scarlet eyes go wide as his words seem to fail him. Izuku braces himself for a shitload of curses. Deku? The nickname is spoken with disbelief. He looks at the boy blankly. Hi, Kaken. If people weren't staring before, they definitely are now. Izuku, you know this boy? Ida asks curiously. Kaken stands up, knocking his chair down as he does so. He stomps over to the freckled boy and grabs the collar of his shirt roughly. Where the fuck did you go, huh? You think it's okay to just up and leave? Huh? Izuku laughs dryly and pushes his old friend back. I don't owe you an explanation. Bakugo growls almost ferally and grits his teeth in frustration. The only reason he doesn't explode Izuku immediately is because of Aizawa behind him with glowing eyes and floating hair. Izuku smirks cockily. We aren't in Aldera anymore, Kaken. Things have changed. He uses a small fraction of 1 for all and green lightning races up his arms. Bakugo's eyes narrow in confusion and Izuku cackles surprise. But Izuku cuts him off before he can say anything too important. I will admit, however, I would like to speak with Auntie again. He pats the stupefied Kaken on his shoulder. Let's talk after class. I have a feeling this is going to be an interesting year. He sits down at the only desk left available right behind Kaken. He watches as gears turn in the blonde's head and decides to test out his new mind-reading quirk. Did someone use their quirk on Deku? That's the only reasonable explanation. Damn it, if it weren't for the stupid teacher I could have done something. Izuku smiles to himself as he watches his old bully shake with rage. To be honest, he doesn't hold that much resentment towards the boy. He was a product of his environment after all. But damn, it does feel good to watch him get all moody and confused over stupid little Deku. He turns back to the front of the class where Aizawa is spewing out some boring spiel about heroics and what it means to be a hero. Izuku is getting a little restless just sitting there, so he's grateful when Eraser brings them outside for a quirk apprehension test. He's aware of the strange glances he gets as he giggles in a way that he's sure comes off as manic and a touch insane. But he doesn't care. This is perfect. Bakugo goes first, blowing the baseball way up into the air and getting a pretty impressive score. He grins proudly, but then Izuku raises his hand while smiling. Excuse me, sensei. He sees the corners of Aizawa's mouth quirk up at the formal way Izuku is speaking to a man he's known for years. Could I go next? Bakugo scoffs as Aizawa nods and Izuku walks up to grab the ball. With 1 for all and a variety of strength quirks, Izuku manages to throw the ball a few thousand meters. Bakugo's jaw drops and Izuku walks up to him and whispers in his ear. Late bloomers are said to be exceedingly powerful, Kaken. He then returns to normal speaking volume. Ironic, isn't it? No fucking way. Kaken grabs his wrist, but Izuku shakes it off with ease. Down, boy. Geez, you'd think Auntie would have sent you to anger management by now. Bakugu's hands crackle and he throws a right hook that Izuku dodges. You're so predictable. It's tiring, really. By now Aizawa had wrapped both of them in his scarf. Both of you are going to the principal's office. He waves over to Snipe, who was eating his lunch in the courtyard nearby. What do you need? He glances at the two incapacitated boys. Do we have troublemakers? Eraser nods. Can you take them to Nedzu? I have a class to teach, so I can't deal with mischief makers. Aizawa says this pointedly to Midoriya. Hey, it's not my fault. He exclaims, I'm innocent. Aizawa doesn't give him a second glance as he goes back to speak to the rest of the class. Asshole. Later Aizawa will think back to this day. He had forgotten that Izuku Midoriya was registered as quirkless. He doesn't realize it yet, but he will. But that is neither here nor there. Katsuki has no idea what's going on. First, the damn nerd shows up after disappearing for half a decade. Where does he get the nerve? Auntie just said that they were moving away and didn't offer any explanation. Then there's the weird lightning arms. At first he was convinced that he had someone in the class assisting him and that he was just faking having a quirk. But the ball throwing though, that wasn't faked at all. Katsuki knows what power looks like. Having had it all his life. That was real power. But that doesn't make sense. Even if he was a late bloomer, aren't most late bloomers like 7 or 8 when they get a quirk? It's ridiculous. Besides, the nerd is so different now. It's like when he moved away, his whole personality got flipped inside out. So now he's sitting in the principal's office with Deku staring at some weird rat creature sitting at a desk that's far too big for him. The rodent's beady eyes flit between the two of them and Izuku looks over the chess board on the table. He moves a piece forward and Katsuki is confused. He spat out, "Don't touch that, Deku. That's someone else's game." But Izuku doesn't relent. He places a knight forward and his gaze doesn't leave the principal. "This is my game, Kaken." The damn nerd is refusing to look at him and it's pissing him off. "Ha! Give me a break, Deku. Stop fucking lying." The rodent smiles and it's a very unsettling experience. Katsuki has never been sent to the principal's office before, so he doesn't know what to expect from him. Midoriya is not lying. This game is between me and him. He turns back to Izuku and continues before Katsuki has the time to process that new information. And it's his turn. Izuku smirks and asks the principal a question. "Did you know of our connection?" It's nonsensical to Katsuki and he's too confused to argue. However, something about the way the nerd said it pissed him off. The principal moves a rook yes. I decided to not let personal feelings get in the way, so here he is. Nedzu gestures to Bakugu and something seems wrong. "Hey, what the fuck?" Language. Nedzu chastises calmly. "No, fuck this, what are you guys talking about?" Deku and the rat have some sort of silent conversation using just facial expressions. Katsuki watches as Izuku tilts his head and Nedzu blinks slowly. It's fucking weird. But then Nedzu speaks again. "Izuku Midoriya got his quirk late in life. I know this to be true. Izuku Midoriya is also my personal student because of his academic promise." Why, Bakugu tries to protest but Nedzu cuts him off. "Do not doubt him or me. You are on thin ice, Bakugu. Be polite, be kind, and most importantly," the rat leans forward to emphasize his point, "don't bother my student." He waits to see if he would argue, but Katsuki knows when he's lost. "You can go now, Bakugu. Have a good day." And with that, he was kicked out and left to contemplate everything that had just happened in the last few hours. After Kaken left, he explains what happened to Nedzu, who enjoys the story a great deal. "I still can't believe he called me a mischief maker. I'm so peaceful." He complains to his friend, who simply smiles. "To be fair, you do have a penchant for chaos." Nedzu reasons with him. Izuku smiles, "Whatever. Oh, you moved a piece, so you get to ask a question." Nedzu hums thoughtfully, "What is your opinion on Katsuki Bakugu?" That's an interesting question. He's a dick." Izuku examines his hands absent-mindedly. "But he's fucking amusing." He looks up at his principal. "It's great fun to tease him." Nedzu nods. "So you're sticking with the late bloomer story then? No great reveals?" Izuku shakes his head. "It's all a little too convoluted. A few teachers know about One for All, but to anyone else there needs to be some explanation for the quirkless boy's quirk." Izuku smiles as he moves a piece. Have you figured out my original quirk, sir? Besides one for all. Nedzu leans back in his chair. I have theories. Nothing concrete. Izuku grins good. I like to have something to surprise people with. More surprising than being a vigilante and the secret successor of the #1 hero.
Nedzu tchuckles.
Izuku shrugs. I like to keep people on their feet. Anyway, I should probably go torment Aizawa right about now. Nedzu nods seriously. A worthy cause. When he returns to the class, Cementos is teaching some kind of formula that Izuku recognizes from his lessons a few years ago. He has no interest or use for that, so he decides to make some mischief. Might as well live up to Aizawa's expectations for him anyway. So he makes his way to the janitor's closet and crawls into the vent. It's just as disgusting as he remembers, but he has a mission today. Operation Give Eraser a Migraine is on. Now, this sounds easy, but the man has built up a tolerance for Izuku's bullshit over the years, so he's gonna have to really outdo himself this time. Step 1. Find the teacher's lounge. This was actually pretty easy. He picked up a quirk that's pretty handy for tracking people, and most of the teachers are in one area. He crawls through the vents and finds himself above Vlad King talking with Snipe. Bingo! He sees Eraser sitting in the corner sipping his coffee in a mug that says, "Don't talk to me." Figures. He focuses and flits through the school's electrical system with a quirk from a really nasty man he took care of a few months ago. The lights in the lounge flicker and all the other teachers are appropriately nervous. After all, everything in this building was made almost impenetrable by Nedzu himself. But Aizawa's scowl just deepened as he looked around like he was trying to find someone. Since the lights weren't enough, Izuku is going to have to up his game. Izuku's grateful he brought a voice changer from home. It's small, but it works remarkably well. "I'm watching you." The hoarse voice echoes throughout the room spookily. Aizawa stays seated as all the other teachers stand abruptly trying to find the threat. "Izuku Midoriya, get your ass down here," he says flatly. "Damn it," he shouts from the vent to which the teachers jump at. He opens the vent opening and lowers himself, stepping on the coffee table whilst getting down. He waves politely to his teachers before turning to Eraser. "How'd you know it was me? I had a voice changer and everything." Aizawa rolls his eyes. "It's your first day, and you're the only hyperactive prankster who doesn't have a class at this particular moment. It wasn't a hard guess." Izuku pouts at his logic. "Fine. I'm bored. And Nedzu said I could mess with you, so it's totally allowed." Aizawa pinches his nose bridge. Of course he did. At this point, Snipe enters the conversation. "Hey, aren't you the mischief maker from last hour?" Izuku bows. "Yes, sir. Though I still maintain my innocence. That was all Kaken. What's the deal with you two anyway? You guys obviously have history." Aizawa asks curiously. Izuku purses his lips. That's a long story. Kaken has a superiority complex mixed with an inferiority complex. Makes things weird. It's fine though. I'll deal with him, don't worry. See, now I am worried. Your method of dealing with things is a little effective, perfect, flawless? Izuku suggests. Erratic. I was going to say erratic. Aizawa huffs. But isn't Nedzu supposed to be teaching you or something? What? You're Nedzu's new student? Snipe asks and Izuku nods. He's been going on and on about his student, but I didn't realize that was you. Ah, thank you, sir. Normally yes, but Nedzu said messing with you was, quote, a worthy cause, unquote. From the corner of his eye, Izuku sees Vlad King cracking up. So I guess that's my lesson for today. Aizawa sighs. Tell Nedzu to knock it off, will ya? You're in school, you might as well do something useful. Izuku smirks, thinking of the great pranks he and Nedzu would come up with together. Yes, sir. Aizawa sees the glint in his eyes and stops him. Nope, I changed my mind. Don't go to Nedzu, go to Mike. What? Whyyyyyy. Izuku whines. Me and Nedzu would wreak so much havoc together. Aizawa glares at him. Exactly. Anyway, you have an English test to do, just to finish off your credits.
Dziełów Aizi.
But I'm already fluent. Then it should be a breeze. Go be someone else's problem child, problem child. Izuku sticks his tongue out at the man but follows his directions and goes to Yamada's class. He does have a lot of fun with the man after all. He hasn't been subjected to as many of Izuku's pranks as Aizawa has. Maybe he can catch the man off guard. Izuku peeks into Mike's classroom. It's loud, it's Yamada, of course it's loud, and generally pretty rowdy. It's easy for Izuku to sneak into the chaos without being noticed. He waves at the man and present Mike returns it with a bright smile. Little listener. Sho told me you've been accepted to his class. Congratulations. Izuku gets a little embarrassed with the praise thanks. I'm actually here to take a test to finish some credits. He explains and the man nods. I heard about that. I knew you were super smart, but wow. You really finished high school already? Izuku smiles shyly. Yeah. It's not a big deal or whatever. I just like to learn. Yamada hands the boy his test paper. It's impressive anyhow. Anyway, you've got an hour to complete it. Let me know if you have any questions. Izuku nods as he sits at the desk and looks over the packet. He smirks when he realizes just how easy this will be. He picks up his pencil and begins writing. 20 minutes later, Izuku finishes the test. He double-checks his answers and then turns them in. I'm done, he says somewhat nervously. He doesn't know Yamada nearly as well as he knows Aizawa. Even though he knows him, he doesn't know what to expect from the man. Holy cow, that was fast. Mike glances at the clock, then back to Izuku's papers. This is really good, kiddo. Izuku feels his heart constrict. Mom used to call me that. Thanks. Izuku grabs his backpack quickly as he rushes out of the room. The last thing he wants is for the man to see him cry. He closes the door and takes a deep breath before walking down the hallway to try and find the exit. The day is almost over at this point, so he figures there's not much of a point in being there. Eventually, he gets out of the building. That was his very first day at UA High School. Wow. All Might feels like he's been going crazy. He's been seeing flashes of his successor's green hair all over UA, but whenever he turns to get a better look, there's nobody there. He knows he has to talk to young Midoriya soon. But what if Gran Torino is right, and he has nefarious intentions? Could he really take on the boy with the small amount of one for all he has left? But he knows he's simply delaying the inevitable, so after the first day of his new teaching job, which is absolutely exhausting, he goes to the Evergreen Cafe. He walks through the door cautiously and is shocked to see young Midoriya standing behind the counter chatting happily with his friend who he believes is called Toga. The freckled boy turned to All Might and gasped, I knew I was forgetting something. He turns to his friend and says, I'll be back in 5, I promise. To which the girl hits him playfully. Izuku brings Yagi over to a booth in the corner, and Izuku pets Hestia, and Toshinori is surprised when a gray cat named Poseidon jumps on his lap. Izuku smiles nervously. I kinda disappeared there. Didn't I? He isn't meeting Yagi's eyes, and it's unsettling. Yes, you did, young man. Care to explain? Midoriya takes a deep breath and Toshinori knows he's in for a long story. Okay, so like last week, I saw this man in an alley. He was dying and like bleeding out all over me. Kinda gross, not gonna lie. So I had a touch of a mental breakdown and threw my phone out the window. Toshinori blinks stupidly. What? You saw a man die? Are you alright? Izuku waves his hand nonchalantly, probably. But any hoops, it doesn't really matter because I got into UA anyway. Cheers for me. He holds his fist up for Yagi to meet, which he does hesitantly. Good for you? Thanks. You'll see me in 1A soon, but I'll spend most of my time in Nedzu's office, since technically he's teaching me. The boy beams as he rambles on about this and that. Yagi doesn't know what to think. On one hand, his successor has always seemed so kind and trustworthy. But on the other hand, he knows very little about this eccentric boy. Well, that's lovely young Midoriya. All Might stands up and Izuku follows suit. I'm afraid I have some things to do, but I hope you have a good day. Yagi attempts a feeble smile as he leaves. God, he hopes he's wrong. Izuku walks back over to Himiko slowly. His brain is fizzing with a new problem that just arose. What's up, Zu? Who was that old scarecrow you were talking to? Himiko practically pounces on him for an answer. Just a mentor of sorts. I kinda chucked my phone out the window, so I lost contact with lots of people. He explains. Should I kill him? Himiko suggests as she puts a batch of muffins in the oven. What? No. Izuku sputtered. Toga shrugs casually. I don't know, man, you seem upset. I figured it was him. Izuku considers this. It is true that he's upset, but it's not worth killing All Might over. Honestly, the new mind-reading quirk was quite bothersome. He didn't even realize he was using it until All Might came in. So Toshinori thinks he's working with his dad? So fucking weird, honestly, but not altogether surprising. Nedzu has described him as unconventional before, and that's coming from a rat genius. So he knows that he's not exactly the picture of normality, but it's still a little hurtful. But he's still gotta get the man off of his back. He might not be working with All for One, but he sure as hell doesn't want his real connection to the man being unearthed. For now though, Izuku is just tired. And that brings him to the gray zone. The Bloody Body Bar is rather busy today and Izuku enjoys the atmosphere. He sits down at his usual spot and taps anxiously on the counter. His favorite bartender walks up to him with an amused expression on his face. "I can feel your nerves from across the bar, Greenie." It's not a question, but it begs for a response nonetheless. Izuku gives the man a wiry smile from under his mask. Well, when a hero is trying to discover your best hidden secret, you get a touch antsy. Dabi's eyebrows shoot up. Well, damn. Want a drink? Izuku is just about to say no like he always does, but something stops him this time. Liquid courage might be helpful tonight. You know what, sure. I might as well. He shrugged. Dabi pours him a shot and slides it across the bar. Izuku takes off his mask just enough to down it in one gulp. Jesus. He coughs as he puts his mask back on. That was awful. Dabi smirks unsympathetically. I know. Want another? He watches as Dabi refills his glass once more. Izuku is feeling great. Who knew that vodka was such a pick-me-up? A lot of people do, he supposes. So, Dabi has the face that tells Izuku he's about to pry. What's Helios's biggest secret that a hero is about to uncover? Izuku wags his finger at the man. No. He's trying. He won't find shit. Probably. He laughs maniacally at the idea of All Might truly finding out who his parents are. You seem unsure. Dabi says. Of course I am. He's freaking All Might. If anyone can figure it out, it's him. Izuku's words slur as he collapses with his head in his arms. Well, you've got All Might on your tail. That's not good. Izuku glares at the scarred man. No shit, Sherlock. Anyway, Izuku tries to stand, but he stumbles pathetically. I've gotta go. Dabi gets out from behind the bar and helps Helios up. You know, you're wasted, Greenie. Izuku groans in protest as Dabi leads him to a couch. Someone says I'll wake you up in a few hours. Izuku feels someone pull a blanket up to his shoulders. Good night, he says faintly to whoever is out there. Thank you. Izuku is feeling horrendous. He wakes up on a gross, stained couch in full vigilante gear with a pounding headache. He looks around surprised that he's still in the bloody body. The bar is pretty much empty except for Dabi, who's wiping down the tables like he does every night. Just then Dabi notices he's awake. Well, look who's up. He smirks. How do you feel? Awful. Izuku says bitterly. Dabi barks out a laugh. Yeah, I figured. You passed out at like 3 a.m. and there's no way I could let you go home like that. Izuku clutches his head as he looks up at the man. What happened last night? Dabi smiles. Well, Dabi watches the vigilante demonstrate the proper way to moonwalk. Fascinating stuff. Sure. But he just wishes it wasn't on top of his bar. Join me, Dabs. Helios had grabbed his wrists and was attempting to drag the black-haired man onto the counter. No way, Greenie. I'd rather stay on the safety of the ground. PSSH. Helios scoffed at the man but got off the bar nonetheless. My first time drinking and I can't even moonwalk with a friend. The vigilante pouts and Dabi has to bite back his laugh. This is your first time drinking and you've already had 5 shots? Helios shoves his shoulder happily. Yep. This is so fun, I feel like murdering someone. Dabi rolls his eyes. Wonderful. Oh. Helios stops suddenly and turns to him. Do you think Endeavor would survive being plunged into the Arctic? Dabi spits out his own drink. What the fuck? Helios sits down and looks at the man intensively. Think about it. Endeavor is fire, right? He wonders where Greenie is going with this. Yeah. I say we drown the bitch. Helios pumps a fist in the air and turns to the other bar patrons. Right, guys? Drown the bitch. Drown the bitch. The others join in his chanting and eventually even Dabi is shouting along. Drown the bitch. Dabi yells in coordination with Helios. Who wants to taste the mystery drink? Izuku yells to the bar as he holds a glass above his head. It's not a mystery, we all saw you spit in it. Clash yells back just as loud. Izuku flips him the bird as he turns to Dabi. Do you want the mystery drink? Dabi takes the glass and pours it down the sink as he replies absolutely not. I need more unsuspecting victims, Izuku pouts as he leaves his seat to find someone more oblivious to his schemes. Clash looks at the vigilante in horror as Izuku downs his 8th shot. How are you still alive? Izuku cackles pure spite. Okay, so if he wouldn't drown, then how do you plan to kill him? Helios asks curiously. Dabi quirks an eyebrow. Why do you think I want to kill Endeavor of all people? PSSH. Izuku scoffs at the man. Don't be stupid, Tuya. Everyone wants to kill Endeavor for something. If Izuku were even a little less drunk, he'd realize the mistake he'd just made. Dabi freezes, but Izuku just continues word vomiting. So, poison? He suggests. The bartender huffs out a laugh. Sure, that might work. Perfect. I've got to write that down. Izuku looks at the man in shock. I'm never drinking again. Dabi pats his shoulder. That's what they all say. Izuku flips him off, but the man just laughs. I have no idea how you know the things that you do, Greenie. Huh? What do you mean? How long have you known who I was? The pieces click together and Izuku explains kinda the whole time. Dabi sighs, damn. Well, if you ever decide to go through with that murder plot of yours, let me know. Izuku beams at him. I will. He says sincerely. He waves to the bartender as he leaves. Thanks for taking care of me. See you later. Yeah, whatever. Izuku ducks into an alleyway and stuffs his vigilante suit into his backpack. He looks around and is surprised by the amount of daylight out. He pulls out his new phone to check the time and almost has a heart attack. He has 17 minutes to get to school. He runs to the Evergreen and sees both Aizawa and Toga staring at him. I couldn't get him to leave. Toga mouths to the boy from behind his teacher. Hi guys. Izuku waves to the pair nervously and Aizawa's frown just deepens. School starts in 15 minutes. Mr. Eraser crosses his arms as he stares down the boy. Izuku just shrugs. Yeah. Shouldn't you be rushing over to UA? You're my teacher after all. He hopes he can shoo Aizawa out of here fast to brush his teeth and maybe smell a little bit less like vodka. Thankfully, he isn't completely out of luck, because Aizawa just shakes his head and leaves begrudgingly. Once the bell jingles and he's sure Aizawa can't hear them, he hisses to Himiko, why was he here? I don't know. He asked where you were and I said you were busy. She explains hastily. Izuku grimaces. He didn't believe you. Apparently not. He was all, what the hell is that boy up to now? Toga imitates the grumpy man's tone before asking him, where were you though? Izuku throws his Helios suit under the floorboards and fills his backpack with his school materials. It's a long story. Helios had a long night with a lot of headaches. He snatches a bottle of pain reliever and dry swallows a few pills. Himiko hums, you smell disgusting by the way. Thanks. He says dryly before explaining, I had way too many shots last night. Without me? Toga exclaims as she watches him brush his teeth vigorously. He shoots her a wiry smile. I'll invite you next time. Promise? Promise. Anyway, I need to change and get to school. God, why did I drink on a school night? He whines to her as he digs through his closet. She laughs mercilessly. Don't ask me, man. I'm a dropout. He ties his red shoes as he runs down the stairs and out the door. Thanks for covering for me, Himi. No worries, problem child. She laughs as he glares at her. He runs to the UA gate as fast as he can without using his speed quirk. He pulls out his phone to look at the time. 3 minutes left. He's still a little loopy, but hopefully it's not too obvious. He enters 1A just as the bell rings and he sighs in relief that he made it on time. He starts to walk towards his desk, but Aizawa grabs him by his collar and drags him back. Have you been drinking, problem child? Well, fuck. Aizawa's question got the attention of the entire class, including Kaken. What, no? Izuku scoffs like the idea itself is ridiculous. Kaken rolls his eyes. The nerd is way too wimpy to drink, let alone go to school drunk. See, just because of that, Izuku will confess. He glares at the blonde boy. You know what? Fuck you, Kaken. He turns back to Aizawa and looks at him directly in the eye. Yes, I got plastered last night. Why do you ask? Damn. He sees a pink-skinned girl recording this mess, so he throws up a peace sign to the camera. Aizawa twitches and closes his eyes as he sighs loudly. Sit down. I will deal with you at lunch. Izuku would be grateful to not be given a punishment, but he knows Aizawa. He's going to get the scolding of his life in a few hours. He salutes to the man nonetheless, sir. Yes, sir. Thanks for watching, guys. That's it for today, so hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, please leave a like, share, and subscribe. Also, don't forget check it our author of this fanfic link and details in description.